to 5, but we'll see what they have for us in picks and bans. First ban with the Cassiopeia, the Zac towards Machi.
And theoretically, they should be able to pull out the victory here. And I want to echo kind of what Rusty started on the desk, this idea of we're not going to take too much away from Machi, we're going to try to empower ourselves. I would love to see a priority pick of the Elise. RNG are one of the few teams in the LPL that really do prioritize her as a jungler versus things like the Lee Sin. So hopefully that stays the trend.
And the interesting part about Machi was when they came in with a pre-planned strategy, the Ivern strategy they played just yesterday, questionable. It looked like they didn't really know how to play it. They fell behind. They fell woefully behind. Ended up being a pretty easy victory at the end of the day. I love the fact that on blue side, RNG can just ban away the pesky champions. The Kalista is a nice ban. They can either first pick the Thresh or deny it away. And Rek'Sai, which was highly contested for both Taizan and MLXG, is actually going to be a blue side ban. So it feels like RNG are reaching.
Yeah, and there's a wealth of options now. You know, do you ban the Caitlyn? Do you take away the Thresh? Do you focus out that Elise? And whichever one you don't, it seems like it's going to be the Caitlyn. Now RNG, do we take Elise? Do we take Thresh?
You have to feel like it would be Thresh right here, as it is being hovered right now from RNG and locked in towards Ming. A lot of faith, a lot of stock in this guy.
But I feel like that's a bit of a mistake since the Rek'Sai was taken off the board. If you had kind of the big power 3 junglers of things like the Gragas, the Elise, the Rek'Sai, and then maybe the Lee Sin, then you're okay, but I feel like Elise was the higher priority here just because it's then Lee Sin and Gragas that are left, and she has a good matchup into both.
Seems like that's going to be very much the tier list pick here. I think you go for Elise and you accept a Gragas as an answer, for example. You're not too concerned in that particular realm. So the Rek'Sai and Elise trading that has dominated the last few days goes away. I'm just so interested to know which direction Machi wants to go in. They have power on the Rift right now. How early a priority is Corki in a draft like this, given that has been such a staple pick of winning teams?
Well, I'm really going to answer it, and I think for sure RNG are going to pick up Corki in this rotation. We saw Shahu go off on that pick earlier on, and I would expect the same thing here.
Meanwhile, Jin was also locked in alongside that Elise for Machi, going down to D in the bottom lane. So back over to Royal. We'll see if it is indeed that pickup here.
Does feel a bit like an emergency Jin, though, with the Kalista taken away, the Caitlyn taken away. And Machi's bot lane woes recently has been one of the kind of news stories for them in the summer season, just trying to get them on complete comfort on the side of the Jin, but the Ashe seems to be the easy answer for RNG.
But with Ashe being picked up here, that could mean that the Corki falls down in priority, because you would think that, again, the jungle pool has been shrinking. Maybe they prioritize a jungler before their mid laner.
If you don't take it now.
Exactly. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
We're doing some flip-flopping here. We're doing some razzle-plasms in this particular draft.
I'm real scared.
All right, here we go. Lee Sin over to MLXG as well. And I like him to have this jungler right here before Machi starts slinging bans his way. But that doesn't mean that Corki is left open if Machi wants to take it or deny it coming up as well.
Whoa, we're getting spicy with the hovers.
It's not locked in. It's not locked in.
They hovered it both times, too. I will speak to Firefox, the coach standing behind RNG. He was quite vocal yesterday saying that the LPL would reclaim what it had lost. He's a very vocal coach, very eager coach, if you will, really likes to step up and prove his worth, be very involved with the team. But looking at this draft, I feel like he's given away a lot of power points to Machi, giving away the Elise, letting them have the Corki, and I feel like the priority on the AD carry may stretch them thin.
And I like also the ban on the Caston. We saw Caston last night in the NA vs EU Rift Rivals do really well mid lane into the Corki and just happily put out the Qs, and the 80-20 split now even helps him with magic resist per level and the big magic damage shield coming through. So they seem to be mostly providing coverage for Apex.
And I think it's so easy to double down on that and then ban the Taliyah, but instead it's actually going to be the Syndra, so at least Xiao, who has another option that fits very well in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, at least something is left for him. Meanwhile, Tam Kench will be banned away here against Dreamer. We're looking for the final ban now from RNG.
If you're going to ban Tom Kench, it feels like Braum could be a second
Either
consideration.
Rakan or Braum.
And there it is. It will be Braum in the end. Machi, over to them. They get priority now.
Jin Rakan sounds like a really weak lane. So I actually don't mind taking the Braum over the Rakan as a ban in this particular game, given the little synergy between the Rakan and Jin. This is Hover Scene. It's actually locked in. This might actually be a support Nautilus coming through.
Well, they needed some hard engage. They do have a lot of, some pick potential with the Elise.
He can also stand in front of hooks and Ashe arrows very happily.
Yeah, but still, Nautilus, we haven't seen him for a while, especially on the international stage, and now he comes in to the bottom lane. Perhaps it's still technically a flex.
I like to think of it as a budget Thresh. He needed to find a hook champion in the bot lane. He's like, well, Nautilus, Thresh is taken away from me. Here's what I got.
I'm not feeling confident enough on Blitzcrank?
No, apparently not. I mean, that's a lot. It's a bit more committal than the Blitzcrank, too. So
Wow.
surreal to see. And now the Orianna, actually, one of the comfortable lanes for Corki. One of the reasons Corki in the meta was that he can kind of boss around the Ori.
And again, I was thinking that this was going to be the Taliyah priority from Xiaohu. It certainly fits with kind of their semi-global composition, the Ash Arrow, the Taliyah wall. It's definitely a favorite of Xiaohu, but like you said, maybe picking a weird matchup by taking Ori. But now it makes sense with the ball delivery system. So they're they're going in full on the 5v5 versus trying to play those side lanes.
But then you consider Jin probably not going to be on the screen. Corki able to Valkyrie out. Who are they having this Rumble pit into? And if they go for the Fiora, very much a possibility from Easy going back to his split push routes. Yep. There's not going to be a lot of grouping from Machi with this sort of a comp.
Yeah, I think it's a great read by Machi. Frankly, you know, outside maybe the budget Thresh and the Jin, I feel like they just outdrafted RNG by giving themselves more viable options as this game goes on. You know, we can play those side lanes, we can play the 5v5 because we can disengage from them.
And Easy was the unsung hero. His Rumble play, his equalizer placement was LCKS, was really on point in a way that other regions have struggled to get the same mileage out of Rumble. Now he's jumping on the Fiora, very much an old comfort for him. If he can match some of his spring games, put out the level of performance he can. RNG, they're looking for grouping, but the only way they can force grouping is really smart early rotation.
And just piggybacking on the 3Z build-up, this guy was picked MVP top laner over Ziv. That's a huge accomplishment. We just saw how phenomenal Ziv played in the last game, and he's against Letme. Letme has a very small, what I call effective champion pool. If he gets on the likes of the Kled, he looks great. As you start pushing him around towards things like the Jarvan, suddenly he starts to fall apart a little bit.
Yeah, and right now, there's still something in the arsenal for RNG. They still have Ming on Thresh right here, so there is a possibility for him just to land those hooks constantly in lane, maybe get the team rolling, but it is going to be about those team fights, and I just have to feel that M17 aren't going to be there.
It's a really interesting game, and honestly, if they draft as conventional, this is a very conventional draft coming through from RNG. If they win this game, maybe they're not leaving their mouses, maybe they're not leaving their keyboards, maybe you send them into Game 5, because if they can pilot this early to mid-game focused draft, maybe you do fancy them against the Flash Wolves.
I mean, they've certainly been the most stable and most consistent of any of the LPL teams that have made their berth here in Kaohsiung.
Can you imagine saying that a couple of days ago?
Absolutely not.
No, but they've stabilized the Machi. While they did get that one win, they also shut down the next day. So hopefully this should be the RNG win. The RNG win that the LPL needs as well, because if they drop it here, the LMS will proceed to the finals tomorrow. And LPL going at this stage would be huge for the Chinese community. Once the rift, RNG and Machi.
So already a fairly interesting level 1 coming out of RNG, trying to abuse the fact that Ming is leading with the Thresh, does have the Ignite, Courage of the Colossus.
He has no advanced information at all. Very shortly going to see a Thresh. Time to run.
Yeah, Ming will see if he can line up the hook. And it's going to have to be flashed away from. It was on point, so Easy losing that one early on to the game.
Yeah, and then snowballing that by making sure that they invade as a team, laying down the deep vision, figuring out where Taizan is going to be starting in the jungle. So open up the opportunity for MLXG to punish that flash.
But when you see a 4-man commit, you can also, as Machi, get your own deep vision, as we saw the Corki pretty happily in the bot side. So the vision trade will happen, but more importantly, Easy having to lane without flash. Will he have to take Riposte to level 2 just to potentially deal with a very quick all-in from Letme and MLXG? These are some of the mind games that go through when you have this innate disadvantage with flash down.
Spells good things, though, for the top lane of Letme. Also, the Darren Shield picked up from Easy, so he's looking to be a little more defensive in that lane, trying to sustain up while Letme see what he can do. He's gone for the grasp in this game. We actually saw a Thurber battle earlier today, which is a bit interesting, but he's gone back to the traditional grasp. And Taizan starting on his Raptors, while MLXG starting on his blue.
Okay.
Landing, finds himself Northless. Not someone you can do a whole lot of damage to right now.
Pretty interesting that they decided to make sure that Y4 and Ming did get a strong start into the bot lane. Both junglers starting the top side of the map. Means that MLXG won't have that free pathway top unless he tries to do something funky with his pathing, maybe blue Gromp scuttle top, but I doubt it.
And the theory behind this is that you start where the enemy vision is so that it's not there to actually facilitate a smart contest on a second buff by the enemy jungler. So with a bit of an entourage coming to help him with the hard leash top side. It's not a hard leash on the blue side, on the blue side where you can actually get a fast level 3. It was more a defensive formation to allow at least access to 2 buffs.
Taizan coming down. He's going to take the crab first before he goes towards his blue buff. May even look towards bottom if they are pushing up, which Y4 and Ming aren't quite pushed up right now. It looks like to be just the crab. He's still
it's
out of vision.
the camps though, and they can kind of do the math here.
Yeah, he's sliding behind them here.
They did see the camps. They should know with 2 camps up that Taizan being bot lane is very likely. Lee Sin is coming, but he's not going to be there fast enough.
There's no dark passage. Here comes the
on
hook.
him to land the hook. The flash comes out very quickly. Ming as well. The flash, the stun, and the hook. The dredge line comes in. Riptide, but it's not going to be enough for now as the TP comes down from the response from RNG. Here comes Let Me jumping onto Taizan. D is a dead man for first blood. RNG take that one. The flag, the drag. We'll see if we can take this one down as well. There it is. MLXG gets the second.
And you can see exactly what Machi were looking for. Unfortunately, RNG get the superior collapse. MLXG rotates down. The teleport trigger is pulled by Let Me. They clean up the fight.
And on a simple level, Machi did not line up their target, ended up hitting the deadly, the flourish onto the Jin W onto the second target as they were focusing in on the close target, so couldn't overlap their damage or the execute damage coming through from Taizan and pay the ultimate price. We'll see the replay here. In the end, RNG were far too far up, but the target selection needs to be clear. And if you notice, actually, Thresh flashed into the cocoon to keep Y4 alive.
Yeah, excellently played right there. The chain CC couldn't come through. There comes the teleport. They grab one target. Let Me sets up the other one. It's an easy 2 kills to RNG as well as the blue buff.
And we can give them the benefit of the doubt, right? That was a flash into a cocoon, knew exactly what he was doing. So the outplay by Ming, we only caught on the replay, is what allowed the deep teleport. It's Jarvan early. He already has CC. Big advantage, RNG.
That's a good reason why early on to the draft, if you do bring out Thresh when you're RNG, you've got to feel a little bit good about that because Ming will make the hooks happen. He'll land it.
And remember, he didn't take the Dark Passage at level 2. He needed to make that play because he didn't have easy disengage. They had gone for lane presence. They were kind of caught with their pants down with the jungle gank coming through, and yet he still salvaged a trade up for RNG.
And these are huge shoes to fill. I mean, Ming is coming in and trying to take over for someone like Mata, who's coming off of his rookie split. He's now the shot caller of RNG, no longer the veteran Uzi standing next to him. So this only speaks good things as he cuts his teeth on the international stage, that he shows up when it counts.
And this guy really, he always shows up when it counts as well. There's been very few times, even domestically, where we've been like Ming had a bad game. More often than not, if he's not the MVP, he's definitely a runner-up for it. He's had some incredible performances.
Let's also put a bit of lip service into what was lost while they were picking up 2 kills, and that is extra farm and experience in the top lane onto Easy in a matchup where he will outscale. So even though right now that is a small point where the game could be decided before an item advantage comes through for the Fiora, it wasn't a freebie in the bot lane because there was no counter teleport from Easy.
Means that that viable strategy of having that lane assignment priority in the split push is a reality for 3Z down the line.
For now, MLXG goes back to his jungle. I don't think he's bought yet, actually. Still has that kill and the assist to his name, but cleared the rest of his jungle first. See if he actually just go the mobility boots route. Last time we saw the Elise do it. We'll see if MLXG tried to accelerate the early game.
So what Let Me's trying to do right now is force out the teleport and making sure that 3Z has to TV back to the lane instead of retaining it and walking back. So there will be a split window here, and that's very important as we're closer to level 6, particularly for the Jarvan. Again, not so much sweat off of 3Z's back because he's the Fiora, but this now means that Let Me has a clear path bottom should they take it.
Double control wards picked up by MLXG is almost the worry enchant as well, so he's going to be hitting hard when he gets into these ganks. That being said, Taizan going to be spotted out on this ward, placing down deep vision as well, as deep as he can get it. We're back to a bit of normality for now, while these lanes look to farm up.
To put a lot of pressure around the bot side. Getting bot side vision, if you're Machi, around the enemy red side does help to potentially shore up any weaknesses the team comp has around fighting early. With the Fiora, like you mentioned, Froskuren, ideally they're playing a long laning phase. Fiora's getting her items, and they're not early grouping for something like an Infernal Drake. Teleport up in about 40 seconds. RNG, they'd love to start the Drakes going, and they have the innate compositional advantage to contest that Infernal first.
That Ash Arrow just about to come up as well, like you were talking about.
Jahu caught on this ward as well. A lot of people from RNG mobilizing their bot side. Looking towards this dragon, of course, it is an Infernal to start the game. MXG also a support towards him as he looks to take away these Merc Wolves.
Yeah, they're just playing with fire and confidence, knowing that they have the TP advantage. Do need to be a bit more respectful, though, as we get closer and closer to that package window. But for now, Apex is locked in lane, and he's not having a good time.
Well, knowing that Apex hasn't gone very respectful in his build, we see a lot of early Hex Drinkers, either first item or working towards its second item. Still could be coming through, but specifically in this matchup, where you very often have to sit on the ball to take the trades you want to as a Corki, Hex Drinker is not optional. You cannot just straight up rush the Trinity.
See if it comes back to bite him. Meanwhile, MLXG turning the corner. Finds Tyzan, connects the Q as well. Of course, Repel able to come up. There it is.
That
Still
was
connects the
unnecessary.
damage. And everyone else coming in as well. MLXG, I mean, the spike comes down. Needs to take the Lantern. Not going to happen. Stunned in place. Let me also teleporting into the fight. Needs to get out of here. But the Dread flying lands from Dreamer. No follow-up from the rest of M17. And MLXG, only casualty.
Hold me, Papa. What is he doing? MLXG, your top laner, was back. And again, you can see what they wanted to accomplish. Let me was trying to get into base, heal up so he could use the teleport. It makes sense. But he pulls the trigger about 5 seconds too early, dies for free. Let me continues his teleport, and I'm left here with my hands in the air. Like,
Yes,
what?
It's not the first time this season. I have also watched MLXG make some interesting plays. Nidalee jumping into the mid lane and suiciding is one I will remember. This is what he does. He had the Lee syndrome, which, given the situation, you could have run RNG in game one, and well, MLXG giveth, MXOG taketh away. In this sort of a game, making a play like that was a lose-lose. You talk about high risk, low reward all the time. That was pretty much ultra risk. Don't even bother trying this unless you're challenger, and no reward.
And then it compounds on the fact that they needed that teleport to play bottom. Ash now has the arrow up in live. They wanted to contest this Infernal Drake, and they don't get to do that for 4 minutes because they don't have Jarvan.
It, would you say it was bad? There we go. Didn't even need a word. A guttural utterance was enough.
I feel like a tennis player right now. Like, ugh.
There's a lot of sports references coming out of you today, Frost.
Okay, Korean Lysandra.
All right, there we go.
Can we bring this back to the female lacrosse?
I had a scholarship. Because of course I did.
I'm sure the overlap between League of Legends viewing audience and the female lacrosse audience is
Listen,
diagram
cricket.
very strong.
Let's go back to League of Legends. This is what I'm interested about. Levy's farming. Killing some minions in top lane. What else is happening? Easy's going back towards the top lane. He's got that CS lead. Definitely salvaged out the early game. It's a good position for himself. MLXG didn't get contested on his red buff. Going towards this Infernal by himself.
Not spotted.
Not spotted, no. No wards around the area from Machi.
No real lane pressure for a Nautilus Jhin, so they're not going to poke over or peek over and find out too soon. Although Nautilus, as we speak about it, takes the long route and has the information.
That moment when you just walk by, plant the ward.
Oh.
But this now means that Tyzan has the green light to look for the dive here.
Yeah, Let Me wisely backs away. He knew that the pressure was bot side from MLXG, so instead, MLXG will do, again, another follow-on play, see if he can make something happen in the ball.
That wasn't the hook he wanted.
I mean, he landed it onto the terrain.
This is still really dangerous. Let Me doesn't have teleport, 3Z does. So is he going to commit and help out his bot lane, or are they going to try to dive and kill Jarvan and push top tower? We're in a race.
The race seems to be going pretty damn fast for the side of RNG. We're not getting the turret HP update on the top side. Now we see it is going to be first brick over to the side of RNG to complement an Infernal Drake. So even after the brain explosion by MLXG at the enemy red, still, pace is going there, and it's a 1,600 gold lead for RNG.
Yeah, feels pretty good. Next round is also going to be another Infernal, so if RNG just maintain the control they have right now, 2 Infernals on the horizon seems pretty good.
And it's going to be a great window for them to contest second Infernal. It'll be about 15 minutes, close to 16 minutes in the game. And you'd think at that point that Ashe will have the completed Blade of the Rune King, as well as the Hurricane on top of that. So hitting those nice mid-game breakpoints, whereas we'll see what Jin's going for. Looks like it's going to be the Essence Reaver.
Almost certainly gone are the days of something else being considered in this spot. It's been an Essence Reaver Rush tournament. Double longsword. Just no Infinity Edges. They do get the Rift Scuttler for their attention on the top side to answer out the Infernal Dragon.
And the Herald as well. So they will be able to place that in the lane. See if they can get some of this tempo back. They did also trade that tower, remember. Apex pushing in the mid lane, but it will be a while before we see Herald graces with her presence. And yeah, Apex is farming on up. What's he going for? Because he started off with Machine. Looks like he's going for Phage next.
Could still be the Hex Drinker, of course.
Could still be, yeah, but it would be quite late now.
Depends where his lane assignment is going to be. If he's going to be sitting mid, clearing waves against the Orianna, then you go the Hex Drinker, but now we see Boots to Phage, very much just predicting that perhaps he'll be able to exit lane soon with the map being opened up, and now the rotation starting with RNG in the top side.
It's also
got out of lane scot-free for us.
And it's also the other thing, you know, as we're looking towards the Infernal Dragon down the line, yes, Ashe will be making her breakpoints, but if he doesn't itemize into Hex Drinker, Corki will also be on track to have that Trinity Force ready for that big 5v5. But now looking at the top lane,
yeah,
he's going to get there.
The tempo here is a big issue with Machi having really low wave clear. This should just be a turret, because this is not a lot of chance of Machi all-inning without Corki topside.
Ooh, Y4 locked in place, but there was a minion in the way. Otherwise, Dreamer definitely would have pulled the trigger on that one. So top lane is still alive for Machi.
But the query really is, the only reason you send those two topside and have at least path there is to once again force the 1v1 between Easy and Let Me and go fully all in on the Fiora being able to outscale. Look, she's 20 CS up, she's very comfortable, but it's a losing play to always try to counter-rotate the enemy. And all you have to show for it is the split push that still, with a couple of turrets rolling down, could mean very little.
Which means that the window is now closing for RNG to take onus of this game. Do something possibly with the Asher or maybe force that top lane tower as opposed... There you go.
It's good, it connects.
Mig
flashes over the wall, he goes for this one. Death Sentence lands. Chow, who was the damage? And like a Hex Drinker, not helping you now, Apex. Rams himself into the edge of the box, and I guess Ming will get the kill.
So, as I was saying, onus is on RNG because they want to avoid this. They know that the Jarvan's going to naturally lose, so you have to throw the Asher, make something happen, because the longer Let Me sits here, he's just going to cry.
And I actually did the same thing as Apex did in his play. I kind of put my hands in my pockets, and I was like, okay, you died to that. That's a problem. Had flash, had heal.
I was trying to predict the riposte right there and does find it. Cataclysm comes down. It will be an easy kill. The flash was unnecessary, but MLXG will take that one to the bank too.
And if you just give up map control and allow RNG to rotate around, then don't have the ward coverage or the outplay potential to turn around situations, something like Easy's split pushing ability late game is going to mean so little, as RNG feel like they have complete monopoly of top and bottom side map control.
And it's just choosing the wrong time to go aggressive. Your mid laner dies, you lose sight of RNG, and you choose that moment to go aggressive and overextend bottom. So cross-map communication maybe not quite syncing up for Machi.
And so small advantages that RNG will take every single time. And while we were talking about the good draft from Machi, it doesn't matter if you can't execute on the Rift. And that's what RNG are doing right now. Just in these small plays. MLXG on this Lee Sin making it happen. Has gone for those Merc Treads as well. So he didn't go for those early mobility boots, though he is still quite far ahead, has those 2 kills and the assist to his name. And that Dragon is on the horizon for us. We said it was around 15 minutes, 16 minutes, and it will be coming up soon.
And there's just as a small point, there is still the reality that if you look at both China and the LMS region, there is a premium on initiation. The team comp from RNG is very straightforward in what it wants to do, whereas Machi, to actually engage in the outbase, actually set up what they're trying to do, requires multi-step processes, and right now they're violating steps in just the incremental building blocks of the game.
This is a clever play from Machi using the Rift Herald to pull RNG across map. There's the arrow.
Y4, the arrow does get dodged out, but it does put them in range for Let Me to come in for this engaged dredge line. Dragged out by Ming. Double knockup comes out, but it looks like Dreamer will be the sacrifice for the rest of Machi to escape. Still the chase continues to heal for the extra movement speed, and D being tagged, kick against the wall. The follow-up as well, and MLXG gifts that one over to Let Me. A flash from Taizan. Ming has been on point with these death sentences.
And Jaiko, take notes from MLXG because that's how you make that combo work for you. Now, that said, Machi do get the inner tower on the top side. Theoretically, it should be traded as Xiao who's pulling the wave up, but still pretty well done.
Yeah, the caveats are starting to get smaller and smaller because, okay, Easy gets more time in a lane, more time to take down an answering turret in the bot side. But if they continue to just push up, not have the vision, or pull too far back and give up free turrets, again, the strength of a split pusher doesn't matter when the enemy has Baron or when the enemy has a 4 or 5 turret lead. And at the pace we're going so far, both in terms of the gold lead and also the pressure lead, things are really starting to tilt towards RNG, even if they have a turret disadvantage at present.
And in the end, this is the 2nd seed out of the LPL versus the 4th seed from the LMS. So you really do hope at this point that RNG can pull out a win and actually bring us that elusive 5th game. And you get to see maybe the 1st seeds go head-to-head once more. We don't even know who the 1st seeds are out of China right now because it's been all over the place. So we'll see about that one. For now, it's the Dragon on the board. Ming turns the corner. It looks like it's going to be another Infernal to RNG.
Yeah, there's not going to be a fight here for Machi. They don't want to give up too much more than they already have. They need to focus on their own backs, their own itemization. You can see Corki right now. There we go. Trinity Force finally completed, but after the Infernal.
And what does it mean? Does it mean that Jin and Nautilus are going to sit and wave clear in mid and lose turret HP because of their low wave clear while Trinity Force Corki goes top side and Fiora goes bot side? They don't have easy objectives to attack when they go there with the outer turrets already going down, and they don't have anywhere near the sort of deep vision they'd want to actually safely 1-3-1. So while they'll be enacting it now, I feel like this just gives RNG even more time to put down vision on both sides of the enemy jungle and then to start setting up soon to be Baron, but just the incremental advantages they've already been getting.
See, at this point, for me, it then means that Machi's defensive vision and their denial of RNG's vision becomes that much more important because their only options are skirmish and pick at this point. So they need to pull an AHQ, they need to go hide in the jungle, wait for RNG to inch their ward line forward, obviously without giving up their mid lane tower, and then see if they can catch another LPL team reaching their hand in the cookie jar.
The goal right now, but RNG getting scarier and scarier with those double infernals. Next one's going to be Ocean, so it's a bit of a respite for Machi on that one. But still, RNG are going to hit like a truck, especially when Y4 gets his second item, as you were alluding to towards earlier, Frost. And also that jungle starting to do quite a lot of damage. Oh. That was pretty close. Whistle past the ear of Apex right there, but it does secure the red buff for MLXG.
This play pattern for now isn't as ferocious. The teeth aren't there because Baron isn't actually live on the map. So not having that available is a pretty big query to making the plays they're trying to make, and they're still slowly chipping down turrets, but trying to play this Fiora split push when Baron is up, when they can actually push Vision and start up a Baron, is where Machi will really need to make a fast decision and commit.
And likewise, when you're throwing those type of cooldowns just kind of in the random jungle looking for those picks, it means that you can't use them here to immediately break mid, which is why RNG are now reaching towards those side lanes.
Well,
I've seen this going pretty transparently here.
Taizan's been spotted now by MLXG, though he is there at the right time. He jumps in, Cocoon lands, a lot of damage coming out, but the instant assassination onto the Spider Queen. 3Z, let's see what he's made of, but the flying drag comes out. There's no chance of getting out of this one. Riposte buys a couple seconds of time, but Ming, that should just give this one over to him.
Seems unnecessary, claiming it there. The Bloodthirsty support is certainly live. On the Rift, they had precious little vision apart from the one control ward on the blue side entrance to the dragon.
This is greedy. I don't know why.
He didn't get it.
Okay, that's fine.
Thanks for the leash.
No worries. Moving back now. So that was the 2 kills going over to RNG. Just a nice couple picks once more. There was nothing else on the opposite side than that. Baron hasn't spawned yet for Machi if they wanted to go for it. So overall, just a nice little bit of a gold injection for RNG. And Y4 gets some pressure on mid lane tower as well before Jin turns up. And got the getaway driver as well. Ming ready to go.
Yeah, so at this point, the Baron is live. We're going to see RNG start migrating towards it. I would like to see them break mid lane tower before they reach for the Baron, just so they have the option to get that deep vision safely by playing the top and mid wave.
Yeah, mid lane priority is the one thing they don't have easy access to right now, because those turrets are still alive on both sides. Setting up around it very shortly, as seems to be the simple game plan, because they just want a Force Easy to teleport. The moment he's teleporting to a Baron team fight, then Machi don't have the same map threat they do right now.
But it should be very telegraphed what RNG want to do for Machi. So again, it should be about hiding in the jungle, waiting for RNG to walk.
Whoa! Okay. Oh, okay. We're just going to one-shot Taizan. That's fine. Jumps up in the air, but what goes up must come down. Nice heal out from Apex, saves his life, but so many summoners burnt on that play.
Okay.
I see that you're taking the okay approach. Basically, there just started with the command protect, and Taizan just 1 second too late with the brain fade. Almost loses his entire health bar. They have to blow a heal summoner from their top laner as well. Massive cost there, and that's just from a brush camp from Xiaohu.
Did you call that a brain fade?
It was a brain fade.
Thank you.
It's a good one. But man, Xiaohu probably thinking if I had an extra amp tome in my inventory, would have been a kill there.
No,
but still.
no amp tomes.
Still. That's a lot of damage. Everyone knows it now. Good. Dredge line, knock up as well. And Y4 flashes away, turns around the ornament, but that's the pick that M17 were looking for.
Okay, at the end of the day, it's not Uzi, it's Y4. Unfortunately, those things do happen. Credit to Dreamer, but they do get the top tower.
There you go, technical net gain. Though Machi are knocking on the front door on the outer tower right now, though they don't seem too interested in going for this one since Ming and the rest of his team is there to contest it.
Xiaohu also reinforcing the wave clear. It's not going to be any big percentage play. MLXG.
Oh, the hidden MLXG is the deadliest, and he gets the instant kill there onto Dreamer.
Bit of overkill there using the Shockwave ultimate. Meanwhile, bottom.
Make sure he dies. Easy will back away here.
Super dead.
Very, very much dead, but still bottom wave being pushed out once again by Let Me. Has the TP, so does Easy, but the mid lane tower, not long for this squad.
Easy has built exclusively for lane compared to the going for the Black Cleaver on the side of the job, and it's more of a team fight itemization to begin with, and yet still with no ward coverage on that side, Easy has to pull away, took a turret shot. Not going to be a massive factor in that particular situation. RNG might just go for the simple play of getting another Drake and setting up a win condition, because if they're able to stack away multiple Drakes while they already have map control, then Baron and Elder Dragon will both be places to fight. And Machi, they really don't want to fight with this comp.
Absolutely, and slowly but surely, Machi have just kind of been eroded backwards into their own map. You can see so much deep vision placed by RNG, makes the Baron that much easier. The Dragon spawning in 4 seconds, like Papa was alluding to, having that backup win condition, but I just feel like Machi are just getting pushed into a corner.
It's just such a different game to when we saw MMD on the Fiora and Flash was playing out that comp, where honestly MMD's job was to do what we saw from Easy, just push up. It wasn't like he was looking for solo kills, he just had pressure, and they had wards around that pressure.
Well, he definitely just flashed into that one. Luckily he's on the opposite side of the wall, so
he'll get out, but they're not actually gaining map pressure or wards around where the split pusher is going. It's kind of like a zombie split push, where at any point, if people move out from the mid lane or the top lane, they could be collapsing. That's not information available to Easy. So they're not actually gaining information. They're just gaining minions onto a Fiora. And that's the sort of thing that can be rotated around, as we see RNG doing very cleanly.
And pretty much just losing a whole lot. Repel was on point this time, but he will come back down. Slight mistiming there. I didn't see that, mate. Don't worry about it. So the curtain call comes up. Kind of just a leaving present, I guess, for RNG. We'll see if Dreamer can actually catch up the dredge line, though doesn't seem likely.
They don't really have a lot to chase with there, because again, Easy still continuing to push down bottom. Eventually is rewarded with getting that tower. Here we go.
There's a fight in the mid lane. Dreamer under attack on Apex, trying to get away from the Lee Sin. Lots of damage coming in from Taizan, but it's not enough, and that's the double kill over to the Orianna in the mid lane. Okay, the TP was just completed. Let me quite happy to dive the back line. Down goes the top laner and everybody else. Taizan the only person remaining. And he gets the spear right now as Let Me just wants this guy dead.
And this is going to be a clear-cut path towards that Baron. And this is what I was talking about. You know, Machi, they didn't want to chase into that. They don't want to 5v5 with the composition. They want to create space for Fiora. They choose to look for the engagement anyway. And RNG, okay, let's take it.
It feels like we had Machi in disguise on day one when they broke the Chinese hearts for the first time this tournament with their play against OMG. Kind of found out yesterday when they tried to run the Tristana-focused Ivern comp, and now here, a comp with clear win conditions. Clearly they're just not practiced enough to play it, because they're trading down in every scenario, and even where they're winning, they're not setting up to win more. As well, this is a really nice engage from MXG that we only caught the tail end of, and then they can fight front to back, because the one thing Machi with this draft can't do is fight these sort of fights.
And like you said, then here comes the teleports on the back end. Jarvan's just going to go ahead and chase down Apex and Taizan, making sure that the jungler is out of the fight. There is no option for a Baron contest.
Oh man, the triple kill over to Orianna. Taizan gets away on 8 legs, but the rest of his team, like, completing that TP as well. Literally just face first into the meat grinder. And that was just, well, fantastic out from Machi. And that's also resulted in what? Another Dragon, a Baron for starters, 13 kills now, and a 7,000 goal lead to RNG. It seems insurmountable. And
then also the fact that Xiaohu was able to open up the mid lane in Hib. So if they want to at any time, they don't have to walk it through those towers. They can also just run up the mid lane.
And what do they have? They have initiation. Now they have a clear place to fight where Machi is forced to compete, and they just can't compete in terms of the draft when it comes to fighting in a narrow corridor around their mid lane inhibitor. And for now, at least, RNG content to just try and open up the map in other areas. They're just going to push the 5-man top, and, well, no way clear to deal with this. Everyone just has to back away.
Definitely gone, and you saw Easy try to trade with Let Me. That doesn't work anymore. He definitely just lost half his health. He doesn't win that 1v1. And the Grand Duelist kind of obsolete at this point in the game. Top lane dies. And now it's just trying to crack that inner line of inhibitor turrets.
And now there's very few options, because it just hurts 3Z to join up with his team to try to be that flanking maneuver. You talked about meat grinder. At this point, Machi just need to hang on until Fiora can get to that breaking point and Corki can join her.
I think that's just a bridge too far. We're just waiting. It feels like we're a shockwave away from the game being decided. Second inhibitor is going to break, and Machi, they just can't compete.
So slowly being shipped away. RNG probably just going to wait for another wave right here. They have a big wave in the bottom lane ready to crash, mid lane as well. And RNG just needs to play the waiting game.
And you know, I want to agree with you, Papa, but I watched the game last series and I'm hesitant.
I know you've been hurt. I know you've been burned. But with a compositional advantage like this, there is no outplay for Machi. There is not a 6-item Xayah to burn people down. They're going for an emergency engage, and Dreamer just has to flash away.
With that, a lot of the pressure has now been burned by Machi. Top tower dies, mid already dead. And that wave about to crash in the bot lane. RNG, just play it slow, play it safe.
And that's the nice thing. It's also the wave setup. It's why RNG are so punishing once they do get that Baron.
Okay, engaged by Apex comes in, but the Drama's
Oh!
still taking damage.
Everyone's
Massive damage in from RNG. They instantly evaporate 3 members, and now Easy about to drop as well to Y4. D lining up the shot, but he's got MLXG on his tail. 4 kills RNG. They smash open the base, and with 17 kills to 2, 28 minutes, it looks like they're coming in for the win.
Yeah, RNG keeping the LPL's hopes alive, and we are going to Game 5.
Tried to give Machi the benefit of the doubt, liked some of the things they did with the drop, but this really felt like the Machi down the bottom of the LMS versus RNG finding new form, maybe being able to turn their season around, their fortunes around after this tournament, because that was controlled, that was a draft that made sense. They had strong early game, able to push their leads, and Machi, at some point they just had to wave the white flag. They had nothing left to contest.
And now here's the million-dollar question. We all know who's going to come out in game number 5 to represent the LMS. Surely it will be the Flash Wolves. They have looked on a completely different level than any other LPL or LMS team. But is it RNG? Is it Team WE? The LPL coaches decide together. It's supposed to be a democratic system. They can vote for themselves, and Team WE does get a 1.5 vote advantage, being the MSI representatives, but is that enough?
They can't vote for themselves as well in that democracy, but honestly, just based off of what we've seen from WE, yes, they were playing against the #1 seeds in the group stage, but RNG simply looked more consistent. EDG, we saw what happened earlier against AHQ. That was a long, long game that literally could have gone either way. However, they could have won, like, what, 6 times? So coming into this last game, you have to feel it might even be RNG as the team to go in.
And it weirdly feels almost like a fairy tale story, right? RNG coming in
This
with the
feels like a
least
nightmare.
expectations. I get that part. But when it comes to the 5th game, let's say RNG bail them out. Let's say RNG somehow pull out a victory over Flash Wolves when they were overlooked as the 4th placed in the power rankings of the Chinese teams. That really is the reality. I really have to say that, you know, if I had the selection, it has to be RNG every day.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And again, we actually saw Flash Wolves and WE go toe-to-toe, and that was not a pretty sight for the LPL or for any fan of the Chinese region. So if that is the case again, it will be very difficult. It's a tough question for us to answer. Hopefully the analyst desk can do it for us as we send it over to Atlas and the crew.
Thank you very much, Pulse, and I hope that we can do it justice as well, because this is a very difficult choice now for the LPL. You have to think that because WE get that 1.5 extra votes, that it might be them, but I feel like Papa Smithy's right on the money. RNG looked so, so good. And that game, man, the Ming and MLXG highlight reel that we have is it's just beautiful.
Yeah. That was nuts. There's not a lot, like every single time they made a play, Raz was just losing his mind. We were all yelling upstairs, and it was just good.
I'm just glad no one else is in this building. I would have definitely disrupted some form of work, because I legitimately turned into a monkey. That was so hype. And I know we have this graphic, but I immediately want to go into the level 3 play in the bottom lane, because that was so sick from Ming. I thought Ming picked it up like a monster, because we talk about the level 3 Elise, or at least like any jungle route every time. Raptors, Red, Scuttle Crab, level 3 suddenly like it's magic. Ooh, look at it, I have rune pages. Well, and then you get to this play where Ming and Y4 get caught off guard because they're naturally pushing. And so this should turn out to be a great play for Taizan. Boom, boom, the guy took the bullet and came out alive. In fact, the rest of RNG were so ready. You follow up, you get D, you hook him. The TP comes through as well. First blood. Jarvan goes back top lane with a Doran's Blade. Everyone shared in on the goal.
You know what? Make it 2 kills at the end, right? And the big thing here is that flash was godlike, and there is no reason against a Jhin, a Nautilus, and an Elise ganking that early that anyone lives there unless you make a play that sick.
And now we have to talk about Jahu as well, because this guy did a hell of a lot of damage. That explosion onto Taizan on the top side of the map, I thought that Taizan might have needed to emergency pause and be rushed to the emergency room, because that dude took his whole health bar in damage and could barely find his E button.
Yeah, he drained it pretty much immediately there. It was a big performance from Xiaohu, and the big thing for Xiaohu this time around is we know he's a star on the team.
Yeah.
But his team set him up. The Jarvan was good, teleporting and controlling the Fiora. The Lee Sin was immaculate coming out of MLXG, and again, he was the inconsistent member of RNG before this tournament. He was a big part of the reason they were losing, while Xiaohu was trying so hard to carry, and when the stars align, it's because MLXG is playing well.
He played so well, along with Ming. I thought that this was probably his best game, even though it is a Machi game where you look towards what team you're playing up against your kids. Sure, RNG is expected to win, but this was a great tournament for MLXG. Not even just this game, a great tournament. And so there was another replay, too, where you just saw how MLXG was able to just line them up like bowling pins.
Oh, yeah.
And then knock them down. I felt like throughout this game, and sure, it felt like a quick one.
Well, it was a quick one.
It was a quick one. That's probably why
I
it felt one. It felt so immediately. You could see it right here.
That was actually after the kick, but it was a kick through 2 members of the team as well. The double knock-up, everything that they needed, and the triple kill eventually for Xiaohu at the same time. Just stunning stuff to watch, and there just was no answer from Machi almost the whole game.
Yeah, of course, that's the big thing that we mentioned, you know, right? Everyone sets it up. Xiaohu will knock it down. He'll get the doubles, he'll get the triples, and it's all set up by the beauty that is MLXG's kicks into Ming's Flay, locking them down in the box and just sending them all on a bouncing castle of doom.
Just outstanding stuff. And also that final team fight as well, where they're all fighting on top of the orb. Xiaohu was just totally set up, and then they knocked down each of the bowling pins one after the other. RNG looked completely unstoppable. And I want to go back to MLXG. I know we've been talking about him a lot, but this is so important. MLXG is such a form player. This guy utilizes momentum so incredibly well. He is going to get the key player because, my God, he played immaculately. Honorable mention goes to Ming. But if you've got MLXG playing like this in this tournament, he can take that momentum, move it into the game number 5, and we can have LCK versus LPL like a lot of people were predicting.
Yeah, there are a few key Lee Sin players that really do make your jaws drop. And of course, 2 of them, and this is one of those moments where you're like, do we get Kandi on Lee Sin? Do we get MLXG on Lee Sin? Who's going to be coming out on game 5? For me, I'm going to get my vote. It doesn't count. For RNG. I feel like my vote, if it counts, doesn't. RNG.
You have to whisper doesn't count. I would pick the same team,
count,
to be fair. I definitely think the RNG is the one you would go towards, just based off tournament form, honestly. WE, yes, they got better between yesterday and today, but I don't think that even compares to how good RNG actually looked throughout their 3 games they've played so far.
And we're sort of discounting here as well the fact that LMS are going to choose Flash Wolves. Yes, it looks like they are performing the best, but is this definitively going to be the choice that the LMS take, or are there arguments for the others?
Yeah, I think that you can go J-Team. They both have strong early games, either one.
Well, we'll see what happens, but we are going to go to an interview, so let's hand it over to Wendy to take us there.
Hello， 现场以及正在收看直播的各位观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎来到2017亚洲对抗赛的赛后采访。那现在有请到的是
RNG support Ming。
你好，
大家好，我是 RNG 的辅助小明。
He's saying hello to everyone.
其实呢，现在很多人都说你们现在是全村人的希望。那顶住
everyone's saying that you are everyone's hope.
接受我们的采访，你有没有觉得压力很大
So do you feel the pressure right now?
压力其实还算蛮大的吧，但是
So he's saying that he does feel the
打
pressure.
完下来的表现还算可以吧。
However, he is impressed with his own performance.
那我很想问到。那今天呢，其实可以看到在下路那一波，对面打野来gank的时候，
So we can see the bot lane.
帮你们的 ADC
You
挡住了
flashed into the at least cocoon to protect your ADC.
谢谢，应该就不用了吧，晚上请吃饭就可以了。
And he's saying that, oh, you should shout me dinner, you know.
，Y4 那魔法水晶剑命中对面的中单的时候，你闪现那一勾。
And there's also once where the Ash arrow hit the mid lane, and then you flashed the hook.
看一下中路，感觉他大招很自信嘛，然后我也
So the ADC was very confident with the ult, and that's why he made the moves.
的下路默契也是越来越好。
And you can see that the compatibility with bot lane is very good.
最近的2天比赛当中，我会发现 LMS 赛区的辅助都很喜欢带钩的英雄，比如说
So you can tell that recently the LMS support really like hooking champions. The hooking type champions, sorry. So how do you rate your own performance?
一般般。那你觉得今
And
天
he's
这场
like
比
so
赛
so.
你们5个人当中，谁是你心目当中表现最好的那一个？
So who do you think was the best performance out of the 5 people in your team? And he said, I think I did very well.
So do you want to name
那
anyone?
就小虎吧。
And he said 小虎。
确实他的这个发条玩的也是很好。
And yes, his Oriana was very
就是
good.
在这2天的比赛当中呢，其实也可以看到 LMS 赛区所有的战队，我觉得表现都非常的好。
So we can tell that over these 2 days, LMS's teams are very strong.
赛区当中学到一些什么呢？
So what did you learn from these 2 regions?
应该是一些视野方面的很多问题吧。可以增强视野，我自己。
你自己可以学到很多视野，包括进
So
攻的
he's
时候
saying that I'm learning a lot from
防守
vision,
的时候也学的视野，
and
可
I
以
can
学到
improve
这
a
些
lot
是
on
吧？
vision.
哎，那最后一个问题呢？因为今天已经打入到决胜局了，接下来
So now it is the
就是
final
我们
round.
LMS 赛区和 LPL 赛区最后的一局比赛，
The
有
last
没有什么想
round.
跟 LPL 赛区的其他的战
So
队
what do
说
you
的
want to
话？
say to other
好好
teams
打
in
吧，不
LPL?
要有太大压力，
So
尽
don't
自
be
己
pressured.
全力就好了，不要
Try
留
your
下
best.
任何遗憾吧。
And don't
我也
leave any
希望
regrets.
LPL 赛区所有的战队呢，能够
So
不留
let's
遗
hope
憾。
that
再
they
次感
won't
谢小
leave
梅来
any
接受我们的
regrets,
采
and
访。
thank you very
接
much
下
to
来
me.
决胜局的对决将会由闪电狼
It will
对
be
战
Flash
WE
Wolves versus
一同期待吧
WE for the last round.
And that is very interesting because we on the desk here thought that it could be RNG. However, we are going to go to a break, and when we get back, it's game number 5, WE versus Flash Wolves.
Jumping onto Tyson. D is a dead man for first blood. RNG take that one. The flag to drag. We see if we can take this one down as well. There it is. Dreamer under attack on Apex, trying to get away from the Lee Sin. Lots of damage coming in from Tyson, but it's not enough. And that's the double kill over to the Oriana in the mid lane. Okay, the TP was just completed. Let me quite happy to dive the back line. Down goes the top laner and everybody else. Okay, engaged by Apex comes in, but the Jarvis just taking damage.
Everyone's
Massive damage in from RNG. They instantly evaporate 3 members, and now Easy about to drop as well to Y4.